Have you noticed? Dating apps, deleted. Relationships, not interested. Gen Z is pulling back. And it's not because they can't find anyone. It's not because they're too picky either. There's something deeper, something nobody is talking about. By the end of this video, you'll understand why an entire generation is choosing to stay single and why it actually makes perfect sense. Let's begin. 10 years ago, being over 25 and still single was concerning. People asked, wait, why aren't you dating? What's wrong? Now, Gen Z is 23, 25, 27 years old, and consciously choosing to be alone. So why did this shift happen? Reason 1, they are in survival mode. Here's what nobody tells you. Gen Z grew up witnessing the 2008 financial crisis destroying their parents' security student debt reaching $1.7 trillion, a global pandemic collapsing the job market. And now they become adults in an economy where rent takes 50% of your income. Grocery expenses have doubled. Owning a home feels like a fantasy. Job security doesn't exist. So when you're working 2 jobs just to afford a studio apartment, when you're drowning under student loan, when you don't know if you'll have health insurance next month, a relationship doesn't feel romantic. Another expense, another responsibility, another thing you can't afford to fail at. Psychologically, this creates a phenomenon called a resource scarcity mindset. When survival becomes the priority, everything else falls into the background. It's not that they don't want connection. They simply cannot literally afford the emotional, financial, and mental cost right now. Reason 2, dating culture is broken. Let's talk about what dating looks like for Gen Z. Swipe, match, text. Hey, silent, ghost, breadcrumb, kept on the bench, situationship, talking stage, undefined, no commitment, no clarity, no respect. They've experienced talking every day for weeks and then getting ghosted, being strung along by people who say, I'm not looking for anything serious. Exes, keeping them as backup options with breadcrumbs, being love-bombed and then discarded. It's exhausting. And here's the point. Psychologically, inconsistent reinforcement is more destructive than constant rejection. When someone treats you well sometimes and badly other times, your brain can't predict safety. That creates chronic anxiety, emotional whiplash. Gen Z has experienced this over and over again, and they realize something. Being alone feels less lonely than being in a situationship. Silence is more peaceful than mixed signal. No relationship is better than a relationship that makes you feel insane. That's why they're choosing themselves, not because they're giving up on love, but because they refuse to settle for less than they deserve while they're healing. Reason 3, they are choosing themselves. This is what makes Gen Z different. Previous generations were told, find someone, settle down, that's success. Gen Z was told, find yourself first, heal your trauma, build your identity. And they took it seriously. They go to therapy, they journal, they set boundaries, they ask these questions. Who am I outside of a relationship? What do I actually want? What trauma am I carrying that I need to heal? And they realized something powerful. If you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself, you can't have a healthy relationship with someone else. In psychology, this is called secure attachment development. Instead of jumping from relationship to relationship just to avoid being alone, they sit with themselves. They make peace with solitude. They build self-worth that doesn't depend on external validation. This isn't loneliness. This is intentional solitude. They're choosing to stay single not because they have to, but because right now, it's what they need. The real reason, the deeper truth. Here's the deeper truth nobody talks about. Gen Z isn't rejecting relationships. They're rejecting the OLD relationship model. The model that says, you need a partner to be complete. Being single is a problem that needs fixing. Love should be hard and require sacrifice. You should settle because nobody's perfect. They're saying no to relationships that drain them. Partners who don't align with their values. Love that requires them to shrink. Commitment that feels like a trap. They're not anti-love. They're anti-settling. And let's be honest, that's growth. Nuance. Not everything is rosy. Now, let's be honest. Not every Gen Z individual who stays single is doing it from a place of empowerment. Some are avoiding intimacy out of fear. Some use working on myself as an excuse to never be vulnerable. Some romanticize loneliness to avoid rejection. There's a difference between healthy solitude intentional alone time for growth, avoidant isolation, using being single as a shield. The question is, are you choosing to stay single because you're healing or because you're hiding? So what does this mean? It means the narrative is changing. Being single is not a failure. It's not something that needs fixing. It's not waiting for the right person. Sometimes it's the healthiest choice you can make, and Gen Z is proving this. You can be whole without a partner. Solitude can be empowering, not lonely. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Maybe they're not giving up on relationships. Maybe they're just refusing to repeat the mistakes they watched everyone else make. So what do you think? Did Gen Z figure something out? Or are they running from something? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this video resonated with you, subscribe, because we're breaking down the psychology of modern life together. Thanks for watching.